Good evening, everyone. Today's June 26, 2024. This is the Auburn Finance Committee meeting. Allow me to read the remote participation script. As of July 2023, this open meeting of the Town of Auburn Finance Committee is being conducted both in person and remotely, consistent with Chapter 107 of the Acts of 2022, which suspends the requirement of the open meeting law to have all meetings in a publicly accessible physical location. Further, all members of public bodies are allowed to participate remotely as long as reasonable public access is afforded so that the public can follow along with the deliberations of the meeting. For the public to join the meeting remotely by telephone, it's 1-786-535-3211 and an access code of 991-599-357. Or the public can join via computer at global.gotomeeting.com/join/991-599-357. All supporting materials that have been provided to members of this body are available on the town's website. The public is encouraged to follow along using the posted agenda. Please note that this meeting is being recorded by Auburn Cable Television. Permit me to confirm that all members and persons anticipated on the agenda participating remotely are present and can hear me. Members, when I call your name, please respond in the affirmative. Ed Coleman.
Here.
Michael Marshall.
Here.
Patrick Jones.
Here.
George Graham.
Here.
Stephen Consiglio.
Here.
Town officials and employees participating when I call your name, please respond in the affirmative. CFO Town Accountant Karen Harnois.
Here.
Administrative Assistant Sharon Kwiatkowski.
Here.
Okay. On tonight's agenda, we have our call to order. We're going to review some potential transfers, review some transfers that were conducted by the town accountant, which were less than $250. We have some minutes, and then we'll adjourn. Okay. We'll take the transfers for this evening in the order that we have received them. I think the fire department is up first. We have Chief Coleman, if you'd like to join us, sir. Okay, why don't we, it looks like the first one's a smaller one. Why don't we take that one, and then we can, if there's any questions, certainly at any point, please let me know. We can ask them. So this is a interdepartment transfer from the fire department. Coming from the equipment and repair account, amount requested $350. This is going to the clothing account, and the reason given, this is to clear a deficit in that account. Any questions on this one? Do I have a motion?
Motion to approve. Second.
I have a motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
The next one is a request for transfer from the reserve account for the fire department. This is fire department overtime account, amount requested $10,000, leaving a balance in that account of $1,426.32. The reason given to cover anticipated overtime until June 30th. Chief Coleman, did you want to give us some background on this one?
Yeah, I think we pretty much know what the background is, but through the chair to the committee, I just want to thank the Finance Committee for the support over the last 6 months as we've kind of moved through our overtime challenges within the department. This $10,000 will be the last of it, for this fiscal year. But I do want to just remind the committee just about something that we talked about during our regular budget. And I also wanted to just give you an update on where we were staffing, because we've had so many staffing changes in the last fiscal year. So currently, we still have 2 vacancies within the department that have been filled. Those employees will start work on July 8th. That will bring the complement to what we were in July of last year. We have 4 conditional offers of employment out for the 4 new positions that were authorized last year that have still not been filled. We have 4 employees that are currently in the background process at this point. We're hoping to have them onboarded sometime in August. But even though we'll be kind of fast forward to August, even though we'll be at full complement with the new positions, we just graduated 2 from the Fire Academy. 6 will be attending the Fire Academy between the summer and the fall. So, those new positions are still not counted towards the overtime complement. So we're really, even though the positions are full, we're still really not in a position where, we're counting those positions towards overtime. when I was here during my budget presentation, and the only reason that I raised this tonight, just sort of as a reminder, is that we are going to be in a similar situation next fiscal year. Because the reality is that the overtime budget is underfunded. My request for this fiscal year was $420,000. It was increased by $35,000 to $335,000. That's not enough just for the normal operations. So even if you take away, even if you say all of the problems that we've had over this recent year, even if you said 75% of that was related to the employees leaving and retirements and payouts and IODs and all of those things, that remaining 25% still translates to somewhere around $130,000, $140,000 for normal operations that is not funded. As I told you during the budget presentation, our overtime was level funded for 5 years. So even with raising us from 300 to 335, I still anticipate that is at a minimum $100,000 less than what the overtime should be just to maintain normal operations. So I just kind of want everybody on the same page that providing the bottom doesn't fall out, and God, I hope that we do, because I don't know that I can take another year of what we just went through. But even on July 1, the line item is underfunded. So we will be here at some point talking about overtime. The town manager did indicate during the budget hearings that he does want to try to address the overtime issues, I think really in kind of both police and fire. He does want to look at overtime and see if there's an opportunity to make some mid-year adjustments to those. But again, I just wanted to kind of remind the committee that even though we're starting a new fiscal year on July 1 and we're kind of resetting, we're resetting short. Thank you.
Questions, Steve?
I had a question. Do we know what I mean, you must know, Karen, how much we ended up transferring into overtime account for last year?
I have that number through the CFO. So in addition to the $300,000 that I was funded this year between ARPA and between transfers from various accounts, we transferred in a total of $357,579. So the total overtime expenditure for this fiscal year was $657,579. Now, again, if you were to take that total and then say 75%, sort of the overtime problem, went to some of the other challenges and personnel issues, a quarter of that is still 164.3, which is within 20 to 25 grand of what my request was. So, like I said, we're still short, but that's the total.
Sure. Chief, you said to achieve normal operations, is that normal operations at the higher staffing levels that you are in the process of rolling out, or is that normal operations of where we were in 2022, for instance?
So one of the things, there are many things that are not taken into consideration when coming up with our overtime. Our overtime is essentially funded on best case scenario and maybe only 60% of our best case scenario. There's no provisions in there for, sick time. We normally let 2 people off, but the overtime really only reflects that we allow one person off in hopes that 2 people don't ask for the same day off at the same time. It's just the overtime budget is based on best case scenario, which never happens, but it's also based on numbers from 5 fiscal years ago. So we never really kind of caught up with it. In order to, ultimately when the groups are at 11 and we're able to allow 2 people off, run at 9, and that's part of the problem right now is that The groups are still only at 10, but our minimum is 9. 2 months ago, in order to try to stop the bleeding on the overtime, I reluctantly reduced the minimum from 9 to 8. Was not a popular decision, but it was a decision that I had to make. It lasted about 8 weeks, and the first week of June, I had to put it back to 9 because we were getting killed. Eight people is not enough to do what we're doing. 9's not, but I tried it. It didn't work. It failed, and on June 1st, I had to restore the minimum back to 9. So when we're allowing now, we only have that flexibility of allowing one person off where it doesn't cost us anything. But with the amount of staffing we have, we really should be allowing 3 people off in order to be able to maintain. So we're having to allow 2 people off, but one of those is being charged to overtime. That's not budgeted for.
Additional questions? Chief, can you just explain, so with the 6 that will come online, how long is the academy, and then how long is the, I guess, field training component where they can actually truly assume a seat to fulfill that numbers, the 9?
Yep, good question. So we've actually sped that up with the new full-time training officer that's coming on July 8th. We're going to be able to reduce that time. It used to be about 9 to 10 months before somebody was able to be counted towards overtime. We're shooting to reduce that to about 5 to 6 at this point, because we'll be able to do more one-on-one instruction with a full-time instructor. So the 2 people that start on July 8th, they go to the academy the end of July. They'll be gone for 10 weeks. And then the ones that are coming on in August, all 4 of them will be going to the academy. 3 out of those 4 will be going to the academy in September. So they'll be back in early December. So I would anticipate around the first of the year for the first 2, and probably February or March for the remaining 3 before they're able to be cleared on trucks and counted towards the shift.
Any other questions? We have a motion on this request to transfer $10,000 from the reserve account to cover fire department overtime.
Motion to approve?
Second.
A motion and a second. All in favor?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Thank you to the committee. Have a good night.
Thank you, Chief. The next ones up are police related. We've got Deputy Chief Mills here, if you want to come up, sir. Okay, I believe we have an amendment, request for an amendment on this one. Is that correct, Chief?
Excuse me, yeah, that's correct. Good evening to all of you. After further consultation with the CFO and reviewing the encumbrance, we would like to amend it from 8,000 to 11,000. We believe the 11,000 may be a little extra, but just to be safe, we want to make sure. And the reason being is that there's been some status changes from part-time to full-time. And even though those employees were put on as full-time, rather, they're going through training, so it's 3 weeks or 4 weeks worth of training, where there still have to be backfilled by other part-time or by a part-time employee. So you're essentially paying 2 people to do one person's job, unfortunately. So that's the reason for the changes. And unfortunately, a lot of the younger people, or any person really, they don't want to come on and be hired, with the promise of full-time. They want to be paid full-time even while they're training. So that's kind of some of what we're running into with the hiring processes.
Any questions before we, Patrick?
Why didn't we wait till the beginning of the new fiscal year? I mean, do we just have to bow to every, I don't want to work part-time, blah, blah, blah. Couldn't we have just waited till July 1st? And so then you're going to have to start a few weeks later.
We absolutely could have.
Thank you, that's all. Okay, timing issue. You don't have to explain.
Any other questions? I think we need a motion to amend it, correct?
But yeah, motion to move this from 8 to 11.
Yeah, why don't we take a motion to amend the transfer they have before us from $8,000 to $11,000? Do we have a motion for that? Someone want to make, Patrick?
So moved.
Second.
Okay, we have the motion in a second, and all in favor?
Aye.
So I'll read it in. So from the police department requesting from the patrol officer's account, amount requested $11,000, going to the dispatcher's account, reason given, correct deficit due to hiring status changes, times 2, it says. Any questions? Do we have a motion?
Motion to approve? Second.
We have a motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Thank you. And the second one also coming from the patrol office account. Amount requested $2,000 going to the technology support account. Reason given, provide adequate funds for anticipated invoices. Chief, did you?
Yeah, there's an invoice right now on my desk for $654, and I went through all of the invoices. We've paid 12 invoices, but, so there's monthly costs, and then there's unknown costs when they have to dial in behind the scenes remotely. We're having an issue with the switch that runs the records package. It seems to be intermittently cutting out, and they have to call in or somehow get into the system remotely to do that. So that's kind of we know it's going to cut out. We just don't know how many times a week it's going to cut out. And we're trying to address that as well. But I just wanted to make sure in case it does cut out several times between now and the end of the year, we want to make sure it's covered. So,
Any questions on this transfer? Do we have a motion?
Motion to approve? Second.
A motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Thank you, sir. I don't think you have any other ones, do you?
there was one that Karen,
Further back?
No, it was the.
The small one. It was under
Oh, the under two pictures, okay.
Thank you.
welcome, thank you guys.
Okay, the next one's coming from the DPW cemetery account. From DPW cemetery, coming from the dues and publications account. Amount requested $500 going to the gas account. And I believe that says gas amount is low. I'm sorry, it is very faint. Any questions on this one from DPW, but it's for the CFO? Okay, you have a motion?
Motion to approve? Second.
A motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
The next one is coming from the mapping GIS support account. Amount requested $1,200 going to the overtime account. Reason given for the transfer, account in deficit. Any questions? Do we have a motion?
Motion to approve? Second.
A motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
From the accounting department, coming from the Bay Path account, amount requested $2,359.73 going to the accountant buyback account. Reason given, cost to buy back 5 days of unused vacation for town accountant/CFO per contract. Any questions? Patrick, you have a question?
I thought that Bay Path was funded specifically on the, the requests that they put before us. How did we end up with an overage in an account that is delineated by the school itself?
We got notification from Bay Path that the town's assessment was reduced by $90,000 for fiscal year '24.
So did we get that after we paid them, or did we get it before they quarterly? Like, we make one installment to them, or do we make 4 installments to them, or do we pay them? We pay them a fixed amount on an annual
I believe we
basis.
paid them 3 out of the 4. So then we paid them that much less for the 4th installment.
And then this 90,000 is actually excess this year.
That's correct.
Thank you.
Welcome.
Any additional questions? Do we have a motion?
Motion to approve? Second.
We have a motion and a second. All in favor? Thank you. From General Services, request for a transfer from the electricity account. Amount requested $15,000 going to the gas, oil,
Diesel.
diesel, thank you, account. Reason given for the transfer, high gas prices. CFO, any
So there's one more invoice that we have to pay for the month of June, and I went through and did a review on the account, and it's going to be short based upon the monthly charges for this fiscal year. So we just need to move, and there's excess money in the electricity account. I believe that's probably due to the credits that we've been getting for electricity.
Any questions relative to this transfer? Okay, do we have a motion?
Motion to approve?
Second.
A motion and a second, all in favor? Thank you. This is from employee benefits. Request for a transfer coming from the Medicare penalty account. Amount requested $5,000, going to the Medicare account. Reason given to cover town share through 6/30/24.
So, yeah, so I did a review on the Medicare account, and it appears that it's going to be slightly short for FY '24. So this Medicare penalty is a monthly fee that the town has to pay. So there's some money that's going to be left in that account. So I asked if we could transfer it into the Medicare expense.
Any questions relative to this transfer? Do I have a motion?
Motion to approve? Second.
I have a motion and a second, all in favor?
Aye.
Thank you. That's all that. And- All of them? Looks okay. And then the additional ones, that's all the transfers that we need to cover?
Yeah.
We had a group of transfers that the CFO provided us that were under the approved $250. Any questions on any of those transfers? Not seeing any. And we were presented with some minutes of the April 3rd, 2024 meeting. If there's no questions relative to the minutes, we'll consider those as accepted. Any additional things for us before we,
Yes, I was hoping that we'd have all the transfers for tonight. I just went through the budget report after this week's payroll. I noticed that there's one account for the Cable TV Enterprise Fund where their part-time wages is right now about $400 over budget. So there's one more week, which is this week. So I would think maybe it might be around $1,200 or so. But other than that, I'm hoping that we don't have any other transfers. So I don't know if you want to just keep the July 10th date open, so that in case there's any others, there'll at least be this one.
anybody, any thoughts, suggestions relative to one additional date to close out the fiscal year? That's what we would need? Would be
Possible, if we don't have any other transfers, that we could just authorize Karen to approve under a certain amount into that account? I know we've done it as a blanket under 250. I don't remember
know.
how we arrived at that cap. I don't think it's anything in our bylaws or anything like that, so I'm just curious whether we could take care of this now. And then if we need to have the meeting, we can have the meeting, but if we don't, it seems silly to come here for one thing that we already know about.
The other thing we've done in the past was maybe the chair could do like a verbal approval for the board on something like that, because since we kind of know what it is, at 1,200 or so.
I sort of echo that. I think that we don't necessarily want to give it directly to Karen because then we have no oversight on the actual number. But I would, I know that through the chair, at least we'd have some exposure. Our chair could approve it and then, we can recognize it at our meeting in the fall. But at least, you would come to us later, but I just think, our chair could then discern whether or not we really should meet, because as a board, we should be aware of it as a whole, rather than put it on the town accountant. I would suggest we put it towards the chair and let him discern whether we need to do it as a team. I mean, I'd do it with approval, but I just don't think it should bypass the board completely.
okay. Certainly, I'm happy to do that. I mean, if you felt you wanted me to poll people individually, so we're not, running into anything open meeting law violations, but
Well, no, you'd have to, that's sort of violating the open meeting law.
Yeah,
So
can't
what
get a poll, yeah.
you'd have to just do some kind of an approval and allow
Allow
it
for
on
that.
our behalf if we voted such.
What would be the guesstimate number?
If I could ask Chris Hugo, since he is here, do you mind coming up for a minute? Do you have any idea of how many hours you might have the part-time staff working for this week?
So Norm has got, 1, 2, 3, it's about 100. 3, he's going to be working 3 times this week. So that's 150, 200, be less than 1,200.
Well, right now, there's a deficit of 400 in the account.
Okay, Rich did selectmen and finance, so that's 100. Did Alice submit her?
I believe that she was in this last payroll.
Okay. Rich, did you submit yours? What do you got on there? I have just 2. So that's 100. So that brings up to 500, 657. It'll be under 1,200.
Okay, that includes the 400.
You think it'll just be the one transfer, or do you think?
That's what I'm thinking. I went through pretty well. If I get any idea that it's going to be more than that, and as soon as I know, I'll let you know and see if we could just do a quick meeting on like the 10th of July on the Wednesday.
Oh, real quick while I got your attention. The meeting did not go out live and it did not stream, but the GoToMeeting is working. So I'm kind of thinking we've got a break in our fiber somewhere.
I noticed there was a message that came up a couple times, connectivity error is low, bad connectivity, so I don't know the quality of what was going out from GoToMeeting as well, so.
Getting us ready for a transfer next year?
Now, we do have a restoration agreement on that, but we do have to pay for it.
Okay, so would we need motion then for an approval for me to handle that one transfer administrator?
That would be the
I
best way to
move
do it.
that the Finance Committee authorize Kevin Kennedy to approve a single transfer to the Auburn Cable Television part-time wages account as long as it's under $1,300
For fiscal year
for fiscal year
24.
2024.
Second.
Motion and a second, all in favor?
Aye.
Good, nothing else for us then?
No.
Okay, great, hopefully we can consider the fiscal year closed.
Been working diligently.
Good job. Okay, meeting adjourned. Do we have a motion to adjourn the meeting?
Motion to
Thank you.
adjourn.
That's up last week. Motion and a second, all in favor?
Aye.
Thanks, thank you, everybody.